tearing of our shirts, the mourners. I'm going to go ahead and cut mine if you want to cut, or if you want to use the ribbon. You're welcome to. If you also want to join me in the bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan ha'emet. Just so everyone knows what to expect, what's going to happen, the order of things. I'm going to open up with a very short, just one what do you call it, Tehillim, one Psalms, and then it's appropriate to have some Hespedim, some eulogies. I think we'll probably start with Mom, and then we have a few other people who would like to speak. After that, there's a short prayer, and then it's just before the actual burial. It's appropriate for anyone who wants to ask for bechila. That means to ask for forgiveness if anyone needs to ask forgiveness from Dad. Then there's a somewhat longer prayer, and then we basically end with Kaddish. After the Kaddish, the service is officially over. At that point, whoever's not a mourner, we're supposed to form two lines, and then the mourners pass through the two rows of people. As we pass through, the mourners would say a certain line. I'll guide you through it. And then we basically leave the cemetery. There's some other customs: wash your hands, throw some grass over your shoulder, things like that. But that's essentially the end of the formal service. Things are a little bit unusual because of the COVID thing, so things are not as they would normally be, so we had to make some adaptations. So I'm going to start with one short psalm. I'll say it in Hebrew quickly, and then I'll just read it in English. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai mi yagur be'ohalecha, mi yishkon behar kadshecha, holech tamim ufoel tzedek, udover emet bilvavo. Lo ragal al leshono, lo asa l're'ehi ra'ah, v'cherpa lo nasa al krovo. Nivze be'inav nim'as, v'et yirei Adonai yichabed. Nishba lehara v'lo yamir. Kaspo lo natan beneshech, v'shochad al naki lo lakach. Osei ele lo yimot leolam. In English, a son of David, Lord, who may live in your tent, who may live on your holy mountain, one who walks in purity, does what is righteous, speaks the truth from the heart, who has no slander on the tongue, nor has done harm to a fellow, nor cast disgrace upon a neighbor, in whose eyes a contemptible person is repulsive, but who honors those who are in awe of the Lord, who swears truthfully even to personal hurt, and never retracts, who does not lend money on interest or take a bribe against the innocent. One who does these things shall never falter. Okay, so at this point we'll start with some words of eulogy. And by the way, Michael was saying that we would probably plan to have a Zoom memorial service, because we're so limited in the number of people that can be here. We would certainly want to give Dad the honor he deserves and have more people provide eulogies where more people can participate. And I think words of Hespedim, words of eulogy, also have an effect on raising the neshama, raising the soul. So in order to provide for that, we'll probably do a memorial service later where we can have a little bit more participants that we would have had there not been a pandemic. But it is appropriate while we're here to say a few words, and then after that we'll continue with the service. So Mom, at this point, do you want to go ahead and say a few words?
Yep. Can we come up?
It's up to you, wherever you're comfortable.
Well, first of all,
Careful.
I can't believe it. Nathan is watching over us. We have son.
Yeah.
This is a blessing. And I also want to say I'm finding it difficult standing here right now, being at Nathan's funeral, with so much that has taken place. He always wanted to die, and I always told him, the man upstairs is not ready for him. Your time is not up, Nathan. You have 9 lives. Many of you have heard me say that, and all of you know all the times he's been in and out of the hospital, and the trials and tribulations taking place. The last place he was in, unfortunately, 6 days after he got in, COVID took over. Our hands were tied up behind our backs. We could not comfort him, hug him, kiss him, and give him all the care he needed. We had FaceTime with him. We had seen him through the glass. I made signs up for him, how much we care about him, love him, and when we see him, we'll hug him, kiss him, and it really never took place. I got a call last Friday in the evening that I was told he was declining and that he hadn't eaten in a few days. I got off the phone and I didn't share it with anybody. I pondered over it. I was up all night. It was bothering me. I had an appointment the next day. The person who saw me said, "You look very bad. Something's going on." And I just shared that my husband sounds like he's not doing well. That evening, I got a second call telling me he has declined, and when are you coming up here? So I got a hold of Michael and Cindy, and we were there Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning. When we walked in, we were in shock to see the state he was in. He was unconscious, but we talked to him. And I hugged him. I reminded him the same words, when I see you, I'll hug you, kiss you, hold your hand. And I told him to squeeze my hand. And Michael and Cindy and Allison and Brett came. Everybody talked to him. Stephen talked to him on the phone. We got Jeffrey. Iris we couldn't get. She was working. But Yussie was able to have words. And the next morning, Nathan is not alive. So I just find it difficult. It's going to just very sad. And may he be at peace. Okay.
So next, you want to go now?
Yeah, that's
Okay. Uncle Leo, can you hear? Dad, you would be very proud to see what's happening today. The Army was here. 2 members were watching over you. They play taps for you. I know this is something that your Army service was something that you were very proud of. And for them to come in here and honor you today, I know you would have thoroughly have enjoyed that. We are under very strict restrictions, and we bent the rules a little bit, and we have a lot of the family here. You would be very proud. I know you were proud. I'm not saying anything that you didn't know, but I want you to know about your legacy, about what you meant to me, and I'm sure Ira, Stephen, and Jeffrey the same. Growing up, we didn't see you in the morning. We didn't see you when we went to bed, and that was because you were working, and that was 6 days a week. And on the 7th day, you were worn out. And my memories, quite a bit of my very early childhood, were watching you in bed on Sunday, half of the day. You did do some very cool things with us. I will always cherish the memories of going to the go-kart races, the go-kart track rather, and Ocean City. Yes, you always showed us a good time at Jolly Rogers or Playland, and
wanting to make sure we had a lot of entertainment. But the one thing that you taught us, some of the things you taught us by directly sharing. A lot of what you taught us was by leading by example. One of the things that I think you have taught us is that hard work. What is expected of us as an adult, as a member of a family, over our children, the examples we want to set, and you certainly set the stage for that by showing us how you spent a good part of your life working and working and working and sacrificing to some degree because you had to work to provide for your family. I think you taught us a valuable lesson about education, and that all 4 of your children have degrees, and a lot of your grandchildren even have masters. Anybody has a master's? Allison will have a master's and doctorate degrees. In the medical field, I don't know where the heck that came from. I think we need some DNA testing. But I know you are very proud. That's right. And you always wanted better for the family. I know you went to GW at night, I think, and took some classes, never finishing because you had pressure, you had demands to be a family man and to provide support for your family. You grew up very, very humble. 1-room apartment, isn't that right? In Israel, and look at what you have accomplished in 89 years, and you have set your children, your grandchildren, and now 3 great-grandchildren for success and for generations to come. What a gift you have given all of us. Some of the other words or phrases and things that we've learned from you, I will remember forever. I hope my children will. Haste makes waste, and the faster you go, the slower you get there, and gay cocking off in yon, and I'm sure some others. Only this half of the room.
All right.
You, in later years, when the last couple years in particular, in retirement, and you had a lot of time to spend playing the stock market. I think you passed the love of the stock market to a few of you back there, and I know Brett, and you will be happy to know Apple went up 8 points yesterday, broke a 52-week high. I know you wouldn't believe that. It's for the last 16 years ago, we were at the cemetery burying our grandfather, and I knew this day was coming. I knew one day I'm going to be here watching my father being buried, and I kept putting it out of my mind as much as I could. Starting last December, you, as my mother said, Dad made it very, very clear he was ready. He was not, his life was not of any quality. He was ready to check out. And he said that he had 2 goals at the time. This was a year ago. This was before December. One goal was to, actually 3 goals. One goal was to be at Brett's wedding. Another goal was to watch Bina graduate dental school. What an accomplishment. And the third goal was to, for his 2 new grandchildren, great-grandchildren, to witness, or not witness, but at least know that he had 2 new grandchildren. He got his wishes. Great-grandchildren. He got his wishes and got a bonus, even, a bonus great-grandchild. What a gift, the gift of life. Nothing better. Dad, you will always be in my heart and on my mind. I will always be thinking of you. May you rest in peace.
Oh, come on. Thank you. Well done.
Sir, you mind hold that for you?
Well done.
Thank you. What do you think? The notes.
Oh, thank you. Let me give you another pen real quick.
I'm not sure I can talk, but I'll try. I just want to tell all of you, if anybody had brothers like I had, should be the happiest people on this earth. Nathan, I could share any secret with him. I knew my secrets were safe with him. He could tell me anything, and those secrets were safe with me. I trusted him with my life, with my money, and if it wasn't for Nathan, I would have nothing. I just gave him $1,000 a year, and he said, "You keep doing this, and for 10 years, I'll double your money or more." And he did that. He did all my taxes. He was my everything. I divorced very early, and he took over all my finances. He was one of a kind. I'm so lucky I've got two brothers. I'm the baby, and they always took care of me. They not only emotionally, but even financially, in some way or another, they were always there for me. I just consider myself the luckiest woman on this earth. I'll never forget him. He will be in my heart forever. The good that he did. I don't know if you all know this, but he used to go to a hospice, to people's homes, because they couldn't speak English, so he spoke several languages, and he tried to comfort those people. He had one friend, Alex. Alex was a
Russian. Russian.
yeah, he was Russian, and he came here. He hardly spoke English. This Russian relied on Nathan in so many ways, and what he did was, even right before, I think just up till 6 months ago, Alex came to Nathan, and he helped him write his memoir, so Alex could leave it for his children and grandchildren. And he just did so much good. Every one of my friends that he met, whether he met the friend once or 10 times, they all have gotten in touch with me this week to let me know that they never met such a kind person. Always made them laugh. He had a wonderful sense of humor. And anyway, I could go on and on, but he's living inside my heart, and I'll be with him every day. Thank you.
Okay. You got it?
There you go.
Thank you.
Lawyer has to have legal pad, but I promise you this is a smattering and it's not going to be coherent. It's just too many thoughts. You know, growing up as a teenager, and the boys in the back can understand this the most, you can't fathom that one day you're not going to have your parents. You just can't imagine living life. You just don't know how you're going to go on. Some of that sign over there, that's my friends, my fraternity brothers, those are all their families there. And a number of my friends lost a parent when they were very young, some as late teens. In college, they were robbed of not having their full lives with some of their parents, and I always felt guilty, you know. But at the same time, I'm blessed that I had 58 years with my dad. When you get older and you have your own life and you have health issues and you start to realize your own mortality, then you start to realize that, you know, there's cycles of life, and that you are going to lose your parents, and you are going to go on. It will be hard. You never forget them, but you will go on, and then your kids will worry about you. My dad and mom didn't have 4 children. They had 7 children. They didn't have son-in-law and daughters-in-law. They had sons and daughters. They viewed Cindy and Bobby and Nushin as their children and didn't differentiate. Because to my father, having 7 children, he could have had 40. It was a blessing. And he loved all of them. There was no differentiation. And I love that about him. My father and I, growing up, even though my brother and I worked at the liquor store since I was 9 years old, Michael was 10. We worked there every year growing up. We were there, you know, on the weekends. That was our Saturdays, going down there to the warehouse. And when I was a teenager, I worked there. Michael managed it, liquor store. So I mean, we grew up in the business. Michael was the exact opposite of me, and it still is. He was the practical one. He was the smart one. He did everything the right way. I had to take the detours in life to figure out, you know, how to get here. My father and I always had a very tumultuous relationship when I was growing up. And it was because we were so goddamn alike. And he saw in me him. And he hated the parts, the stubbornness, the unwillingness to bend. And I know he loved me, but he saw that in me, and I was right back at him. And so we had a hard time when I was a teenager. It wasn't until I got in my 20s, Michael and I were in business. I know he was proud of us, proud of me. And then we got older, and I remember when it was so easy to hug my dad. Never did growing up. It wasn't like that. I knew he loved us, but it wasn't a touchy-feely family. But I'll tell you something. When he had his first grandchild, everything changed. His whole world changed. He lived for his grandchildren, he lived for his children, but when you guys gave him grandchildren, it just became a different person. And the more grandchildren he had, the happier he was. And when I would call him over the years, you know, after asking how I was doing, that was a quick, 2 seconds. It was, have you talked to Jeffrey about the kids? Have you talked to Michael about the kids? Have you talked to Iris about the kids? And he would tell me the updates of every grandchild. And I guess that's how I knew that's reminded me of Granddaddy and how he was. That's all he cared about, was what his grandchildren did. Michael said, my father with that Slavic background, the life that they had was unreal. What they had to go through, Leo and Mal, Uncle Leo, and Eva, my father, we're so, the privilege that we've had to not know that life. I've talked to my sister Nushin. She told me about what she went through with her family to get here. I mean, we don't know any of that. And so that kind of character that builds, he truly appreciated everything in life because of what he had to go through to get here. And he did work 6 days a week, and I remember it so well. He had the Sunday paper, we couldn't touch it. It was like the Talmud, taking it to the bedroom, and you put it down, and he was in bed, and he had spread it out, and he read the whole damn thing. And he had a back scratcher, one of those things with a scratch, and if you came in there, he asked you to scratch his back.
And he got it done.
Yeah. And he worked 6 days a week from morning to late night so that his children wouldn't have to do that. That's all he cared about, was that providing. And he didn't care what it did to him. He didn't care about having fun and recreation like my friends and my siblings do. And that wasn't part of that lifestyle. It was work, and you rest for one day, and you start the whole thing over for your entire life. so that your family can be provided for. You know, he wanted to have doctors and lawyers, and sadly, 3 of my siblings disappointed him. But he got over that in his older years. My father was such a simple man. He really was. He hated anything fancy. He was not cheap, because we grew up with everything we wanted. We were never without. But he just hated. He wasn't impressed with people that had fancy homes and fancy cars and all that. That didn't impress him. He was content with what he had, because he built character. He believed you'd be kind to people. People will be kind to you back. So many people loved him. I've heard it from so many people. What a great person he was, what a nice person he was. And that's the legacy, you know, that he's left us. 60 years with my mother. It's amazing. And the values that they have taught their children. Mom gets mad, like I told her last night. Jeffrey drives out at midnight to go to the hospital, you know, and I said, but shouldn't you be blessed that you two raised children, that's what they want to do? Who cares if it's risky? Who cares if it's what it means to them? Who cares if they get 2 hours of sleep? You raised children, that's what they care about. And they do it, and the grandkids, they do it because they want to be here, and they always wanted to be with him. We do have, you know, the people, the 4 boys. I know Bina's watching this. Our grandchildren here from LA, who are they played in a tournament just Tuesday night while I was on the plane. I was able to watch it. 2-on-2. They're so well known in LA. They're so phenomenal basketball players. They played in a tournament, just the 4 of them against each other, for the homeless, to raise money for the homeless. And Jeffrey was there, and they gave a memorial, and they played in honor of Dad. And they talked about it on the 2 broadcasters. He would have gotten such a kick out of watching that. He really would. He just, the smiles. Brett and Allison. He just was crazy about you guys and all his grandchildren.
Marnie.
Well, absolutely. I mean, they're not here, but they're going to be seeing this. But no, that Marnie has given him more than enough blessings. And Drew. I want to thank. I would be remiss without me and Iris and Jeffrey and their families all moved away many years ago to all over the country, and it's not hard. It's not easy to get here. We're phone calls away, but we're plane rides away, and so everything with my father for years, but especially the last few years, you know, have fallen on Cindy and Mike, or my mother. And I know that I speak for Bobby and Iris and Nushin and Jeffrey and myself when I tell you that you have no idea what that means to know that my father was taken care of by people that loved him. I couldn't be there. But he was so loved by them. Cindy, you are an angel. You are an absolute angel. You were my father's confidant. Cindy, if you don't know, Cindy took care of her parents when they were sick. Well, she took care of her parents their whole life, but when they were sick, she was their caretaker. And then she's been my parents' caretaker. And she's my mother's confidant. She's been my father's confidant. And I know that he loved every moment that he spent with you. And Michael, the arrangement, everything that you all had to do, and moving him to Homecrest and then Tribute, and we weren't able to help. You could only just talk about it, and I hated to even offer advice, because I felt like, what nerve do I have to even put my 2 cents in there when I'm not there?
No, Stephen, no, please, Stephen, please.
I'm all right.
Please.
I'm all right.
Oh, no. We did it. We knew you couldn't
I know.
do it. Oh, you, Jeffrey, and Iris could not do it.
I know.
Please.
I just want you to know how much
I don't
we
want
love
you
that,
to feel that way.
because I knew he was a
We
good
knew
hand.
we could handle it. He had the best of care,
He did.
Stephen, and we never had to doubt for that.
He did.
And you know all the times, everything was a challenge,
I know.
but he got better. He
Well-
got over it. And then this last time was hard for me to understand the state that he, all of a sudden,
Last Thanksgiving,
yeah.
when I came in, he was at Home Crest, and we had a great time. We went back and to the Home Crest after we were out and brought in pizza, and we were all there playing games, and we went in the meeting room, and Dad sat there, and it was my team, and Dad and Cindy had to help him cheat because he wasn't following the rules. And we played for hours. I mean, hours went by, and it was just a blast, and he was having a good time, and that will be the last best memory I have of him. And that was a good time. And
That's it.
when
Good
I talked to
memories.
him, we ended the conversation with "I love you." And my father always ended the phone call with "Thank you for calling. Just stay well." That's all he cared about was that you just stayed well. He didn't care about himself. He just cared that you stayed well. So I just want to say, Dad, I love you. You were great, man. You were two most brilliant men in my life. Now I've lost both of them. I love you. I will think about you every day. But you're there.
Oh, Stephen. Oh. Okay.
Thanks. All right.
You know, if there was a rabbi here, he would probably offer some kind of theological, philosophical, biblical insights and all that, and I don't want to do that today. The idea of death and life, and I think we all have a pretty good idea. Instead, what I wanted to do is just mention a few things that haven't been mentioned, and or emphasize some things that have been mentioned, and then I'm going to ask Yossi to. Yossi prepared some words he's going to speak. So, one thing that Dad was very big into Toastmasters, and I'm violating the Toastmasters rules right now. I did not prepare an actual speech, but I think one of their lessons is extemporaneous speech. So that's what I'm doing today. Is totally extemporaneous on the cuff. We knew this was coming, and I still wanted to keep it out of my mind. That's not an excuse or not a justification, but it just made it hard to prepare. I think, even though he's physically not here, and we're about to continue with a burial, I think he's actually still here. And even though he's not here, I think what we do for the rest of our lives, from today, tomorrow, next week, and for the rest of our lives, I think we are still very connected. I think what we do has an effect on him. And I think he affects us. Even though there's no physical touch, no physical words, I still think we do impact each other. So I think it matters. When we do good things, we do good deeds, I think it helps elevate his soul. Same thing with Pop, with our grandfather, our grandmother, Aunt Eva. I think now that they're together, I think what we do raises their souls. I think them being in Gan Eden, being in heaven, helps us. They look down on us. They guide us in ways that we may not really consciously realize, but I think that's real. And so I think that's something that we can continue without being physically present. We can continue to cherish. one of the lessons that Stephen mentioned, that Michael mentioned, you know, Dad taught us by example, the love of family. And I'll never forget when I was a kid, I'll never forget when Duty Halpert first came to town. I didn't know who Duty Halpert was, but it was a big deal. Duty Halpert is a cousin. He's coming to town. We all piled in the car. We went to Uncle Leo's to meet this mysterious cousin who, you know, we never met before, but that was a big deal. And every relative that would come from New York, Israel, it was a big deal. Dad went out of his way to host, tour guide. Sometimes I was the tour guide. We hosted people in our family. Either us or Uncle Leo was usually the host. We made sure family felt welcome, got together, and that was a big deal. And I think that's one thing I'm very proud, I think, to have inherited from you, Dad, is that love and appreciation for family. And it doesn't matter how close you are on the family tree, it can be off the charts. You're still family. And if you try to figure out how Duty's related to us, you'd be very surprised how very, very far the relation is. But you would think he's a first cousin. And he's not. He's like a 15th, you know, I don't know what the count is. It's very, very distant. But we felt very close. And actually, personally, just as a side point, from that point on, I developed a very close relationship with Duty. And I felt he was almost like a father figure. And when I was in Israel, I spent a lot of time with Duty. I love Duty, and I continue to stay in touch with Anita. And, you know, it's very special. Uncle Leo took me and Avi when we were probably 11 or 12 years old on a trip to New York. Met George Lancer for the first time. Again, fell in love with George, and I've always been in touch with George ever since. It's such a big deal. We learned a lot in that way. Hard work was mentioned. Dad was a very, very proud Zionist. Changed his middle name to Jabotinsky. I'm not going to go into the whole story behind that. I'm sure you've heard it many times. But I think that speaks loudly enough by itself. He legally went to court, changed his middle name to Jabotinsky. 60 years of marriage. You can't say it was a model marriage. I think we can all, nothing to be ashamed of, but it is what it is. Mom, I can't emphasize enough that what you did for Dad, not just in the last year and a half, 2 years, but over 60 years, you really modeled what a devoted wife looks like. And what can I say? We learn a lot. We appreciate all you've done, and that will imprint in our DNA. And you know, you went above and beyond against many challenges and difficulties, and what you did for him, always caring for his doctor appointments, and you knew more about his medical chart than his doctors did, I think, and sometimes had to set them straight. And so I think you did an amazing job, Mom. Very proud of you for that, and I don't know how you did it, but you did. I think that shows, it speaks volumes about what true love and dedication and loyalty looks like. Also, Stephen mentioned this. This cannot be mentioned enough. Cindy, I don't mean to embarrass you. Unbelievable. Forever, but in particular while Dad was in a very compromised health challenges were getting to be very high. You, unbelievable. And when I never forget when you were planning your retirement, and I asked you, what are you planning to do after retirement? It wasn't take up a hobby, go back to school, or get a second job. It was, I want to take care of Dad. And that blew me away. And it wasn't just words, she did it. Unbelievable. And the pressure, as Stephen also mentioned, that all of us being away, all of it fell on Michael and Cindy and Mom. And with all the pressure, you would never hear a word. I don't know how you guys kept so cool, both of you, with all the pressure and stress, you made it look easy. But we would know by learning and prying, I think we got a fraction of a picture of how much stress and pressure you guys were under, but you never showed it. And so I cannot appreciate it enough. We all know that there's a mitzvah in the Torah that says kibud av v'em, honor your father and your mother. And there's a lot of discussion amongst the rabbis about, well, what is appropriate? How do you know you've done it? How do you know you've fulfilled? And if I'm not mistaken, in the Gemara it says it's limitless. You cannot fulfill that mitzvah. In other words, you can always do more. There's never enough honor to a parent that you can give. And you guys, I think, got as close as it can possibly get. You guys did an amazing job. And I can't thank you enough, and we all really appreciate all you've done. And it really fell so much on your shoulders. So thank you so much. Again, I didn't prepare formally. I wish I had, but I think I hit the highlights of what I had in mind. Okay. Yes, are you ready?
Everyone did it without a notes. So trying to sum up Pop-Up in one speech is probably as difficult as teaching him how to save an open email attachment. I'll try my best to do it justice.
Yes. Louder and slower.
Sorry. For me, it wasn't about who he was. It wasn't about like a specific moment, memory, experience, activity even. It was just the idea of him and his presence and his energy. He was like a safe haven for me specifically. Every time I come to Maryland, it's like a special event for Pop-Up and Grandma Judy for me. I think we can all, what everyone said, when you sit with him, speak with him, converse with him, he never judged you or looked down on you, even though there's 60 years between me and him. He spoke to you eye-to-eye level. He always had your best intentions. He gave you all of his time, his energy, his devotion, his undivided attention. To me and all the grandchildren, I would say. Even though half the time I was repeating myself, like, what did you say? Was that? Come again? I knew he digested, and he always said exactly what you needed to hear. There's no denying how much he loved all of us, especially his grandchildren. He made that utterly clear with everything in him. His unconditional love, trust, is something I hopefully will carry on for us. I will carry on for the rest of my life, and hopefully show to my children and my grandchildren. Flying to Maryland, I know for me, like my siblings, we can say it was a treat, like a reward. There was no such thing as coming back too often. As soon as we left, we were looking forward to the next trip to come back to see you guys. When I look back at it, when I was trying to think of like memories and experiences, it wasn't anything special. Like we didn't have like courtside tickets to the Wizards games or Redskins. It wasn't any like fancy intricate plans, even though Grandma Judy tried to plan every single minute from when we got here to when we left. But what we really came for was just Grandma Judy and Pop-Up. We didn't need front row tickets when we had 11410 Empire Lane. We had breakfast, lunch, dinners together. We had shaving lessons, insulin shots, sledding. Sorry, malls, shopping, stock market discussions, news and current events, walks, leaf sweeping, printer problems, internet problems, printer problems again, family events. We just had mundane activities, honestly. Nothing special, but even the small details of walking around and you guys holding our arms. That to me is someone special, someone who elevates a regular task and makes it special, something that you would normally forget and never think about twice, and makes it something that stays in your heart. I know in my heart that you're in a better place, and that you're happy and you're smiling down at all of us. I think it's ironic that it stopped raining for this entire, probably just jinxed it, but this entire 2 months it stopped raining. You have a sacred and special place in my heart, and I hope and I believe that I have in yours. I don't know what it means to fly across the country and not see your smile or your face or hear your voice. The world lost an amazing person and having got extremely lucky. I love you forever.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything? Good. Okay. We're going to continue with the Kel Male. Then we're going to ask for Mechila, and then we'll do the burial. El Malirachamim, Shofein, Vamromim, Hametzeim, Ruchanachonam, Kanfi Ashkina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim U'Tehorim, Zohar Harakia Masidim, Bet Nishmat, Natan, Ben Yosef Tzvi, Shalach L'olamo. ברור שאנחנו מתפללים בעד הזכרת נשמתו בגן עדן, תהי מנוחתו לחיים, בעל הרחמים יסתירנו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ליצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני ונחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן. Quickly in English, God full of compassion who dwells on high, grant proper repose on the sheltering wings of your presence in the holy levels of the holy and the pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of Natan, son of Yosef Tzvi, who has gone to his world, and for whose memory we pray. May his repose be in paradise. May the Master of Compassion bring him under the cover of God's wings, and bind his soul in the bond of life. May the Lord be his heritage, and may he repose on his resting place in peace, and let us respond, Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so at this point, if anyone wants to ask for Mechila, I think I'll just go first very quickly. I think as far as asking for forgiveness, Dad, as I mentioned earlier, there is no measure for how much you can honor a parent and a mother. And I will say that I should ask you for forgiveness, because I know that I could have and I should have called, visited. It wasn't anything short of that as an excuse. I'm sorry. We're gonna miss you. At this point, we can start to fill around the liner so that they can put the cap on the liner. Tradition is that you don't pass shovel to shovel. If you need, we have enough shovels for whoever wants. The first 3 shovels usually go upside down, and then you can shovel normally. And then I think they will come and put the cover on, and then we can continue the service. Okay? So whoever wants to come and participate, this is a very nice mitzvah to do. Is that the other shovel?
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna hold the camera for a little.
Do you want to?
Yes, sir. Got it? I'll give it to
Sir, there's gloves behind you.
I'll go and pair of gloves. Oh, you all got a shovel? Let me see what it... Cindy, you were highly recognized. I'm glad for you.
Brandy, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, day.
Wow.
You get it right.
I was sitting on a bench. Are they here? Oh, that's better than this, huh?
Here, I'll give you mine. I'll give you mine. I'll put mine as well.
Yeah, okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Well, I'll go when everybody else is ready.
Can we do it any more? No, it's okay. I just want to get any more.
Jeffrey, can we do it at the same time?
Huh?
Yeah, why not?
There's one over there.
Jeffrey.
Oh, okay.
First three, each person does is upside down. Each person or total? Now everyone does regular, everyone does upside down.
Well, once you do the three, then you can do it regular.
Each person does three.
Yeah.
Leo you want to shovel, Leo?
You did.
Huh?
You did it already.
Oh, he did it already. Okay. I see. Okay.
We can do it at the same time.
Oh, you want? No, I'll be late. They say the best for last.
True, very true.
You guys want to come over?
Sure. Okay.
I know.
Much as you want.
Did you want me to hold the camera?
Iris, you want to come over here?
See Nathan's namesake?
Oh my gosh. Oh, Marnie, you're on FaceTime. Oh, I wish I could hold him. Oh.
Such a chill baby.
Let me get a picture of that for the video that Marnie's on.
Oh, you get the ceiling fan.
Got the ceiling fan.
He's named after Nathan.
Okay. Oh. How precious.
The Hebrew name is after Nathan.
Yeah. So precious. He'd be so happy. Oh my gosh. And we told him about Nicholas.
Marnie still wanted to be here.
I know.
We told you we couldn't come because all the limited people. Nobody showed up.
COVID robbed us of a lot of things.
The price has gone up triple.
But we'll make up for it. Oh, Marnie.
That's very nice.
Actually, let's stop right there.
Okay.
I gotta finish the put that water lid on.
Okay.
All right?
Can we just wait here?
Yeah, you can just on the other side of the tent. Pull on the
Okay.
back on the tent.
Okay.
Just take the shovel with you. Then pull the shovel off. Take the shovel. Morning, Dave.
Yeah, they're going to.
Gentlemen, let me just ask you to step on the other side of the stairs. Everybody back on the back side of the tent for me.